Welcome to this video with Vizion API. Today we're going to quickly walk through how to set up a no-code solution to connect to the Vizion API, input a container ID, and get updates about that shipment you entered into the API. Three things you'll need is first one being a Vizion API key, the second being a Google account so that you have access to the Google Drive and therefore Google Sheets, and lastly a Zappier account. If you're not familiar with any of them, we'll walk through them all in depth and set everything up from start to finish here. So no worries, you'll be able to first preview it, see if it works for you, then you can set up the accounts. They do have some free accounts to get started, so we'll walk through that and see what that looks like. As I mentioned, the first thing you will need is an API key to access the Vizion API. You can come to our website here, book a demo, explore APIs, talk to our sales team to understand if the product that we provide is a fit for your ocean visibility needs and beyond. So the next thing I had mentioned is a Google account. We do have in the description a link to a spreadsheet. So once you get that loaded up here, this is going to be something you're going to want to download and put into your own Google Drive, and I'll walk through how to do that just to make sure it's set up correctly. Let's do that first before we walk through it. So you will want to download it as an Excel version. We do want all the different sheets and functionality to come with this. I already downloaded it, so I'm going to just go ahead and go to the next step here. So once you hit download there, you're going to want to go into your own Google Drive, and you will not want to just upload the file directly. You will want this in a Google Sheet form. So you did download it as an Excel to keep all the properties with it, but we're going to go ahead and first create a Google Sheet and then just import the contents into this. So we can go ahead and name it so we can find it later when we start working in Zappier. We'll call it Zap App. Something easy and quick, and that's what it was originally called, so we'll keep it that. And I'm going to go with import again rather than just uploading that file up into your drive. We're going to go ahead and grab the Zap app here and import it. We can just hit replace sheet. It's going to keep our name, I believe, here. So, yep, Zap app will stay. And you'll see that now we have a matching sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that tab. So we just keep the one we need. And you can see here that it did upload the Excel version as well as now having the Google Sheets version. So you have both versions in your drive, but you want to make sure you're using that one. So I'm actually going to delete this one for now. You may want to rename it. We'll leave it here so you can see the functionality in Zappier here in a moment. So that's fine. It won't do anything. So the key parts of this are we're going to work with two of the three sheets today. A second video, follow-up video here, will have the bill of lading input that we can work through. It's going to be very similar to container ID with just a few small changes, but today we'll just walk through a container ID input, and then the payload sheet is where you're going to get your updates back, easily parsed and laid out in a table format that you can, even lay a BI tool on, such as Power BI or Tableau, and I'm sure we'll have some videos following up with how to do that as well. Build your own quick track and trace in Tableau and just set it on top of this Zappier and Google Sheets integration. So first thing, you'll need a container ID. I'm going to grab one I've got here. You will want an active or just recently completed shipment. The carrier code is something you will also need. So I know this box is being carried with Hamburg Sud, and our carrier code for Hamburg Sud is SUDU. You can find that linked in our supported carrier page here. Just looking at what we've got. And just looking again, I'm looking for Hamburg Sud, and I can see SUDU is what I need to input as my carrier code. You will notice that there are other ones such as this carrier. They also have SUDU as carrier code because they are under the Hamburg Sud umbrella. So we go to Hamburg to find the data when we're tracking with that carrier. So you'll see a few of those as well, another one up top. So you'll get the carrier code for whichever carrier your shipment is booked with. You'll drop it in there. And then this callback URL, nothing you need to worry about. This is going to be provided by Zappier once we get in there. And then the send division only has send here. We'll get into why that's important as well into Zappier. So this is all I need to really just set this up for testing to run through Zappier. And we're good to go. So I'll move over to my Zappier account. So I did mention you can get a free week. You'll want to upgrade your plan to at least the starter plan where you get up to 750 tasks a month. A task is defined as really what we're going to be using the Webhook functionality out of Zappier for, where we connect to the Vizion API and send or receive something. So when you send a container ID into the Vizion API, that'll count as one task. When the Vizion API sends you an update about your container, that'll also count as one task. So for example, if you input one container and you get an update every day for 30 days, you'll have 30 tasks for updates and one for the input, so 31 total. So you can run maybe about 50 containers a month on this plan, depending on how many updates you get about your shipments. Some updates, some carriers will update more frequently than others. So, it depends a little bit. There's some variability to that. So we're going to go ahead and start a new Zappier. We're going to create two. The first one is going to be to post our container ID to the Vizion API, and the second one is going to be to retrieve the updates from the Vizion API. Because we need that webhook URL to begin testing here, we're going to go ahead and set up the first step of our second Zap first. So what we're going to set up in there is going to be, again, the webhook. You see it's premium here. That's what we're paying that extra fee per month for, to actually communicate out and in between the Vizion API and Google Sheets. So you're going to grab our trigger event. We're going to catch a raw hook here. So I'll just be catching that raw JSON that the Vizion API is going to send back to you. And then this is really what we need. This will never change as long as you keep using these zaps. You'll be able to grab that, and you want to take that back and put that as a callback URL. So this is just, again, telling you, go into Zappier, do the work, and then put it into my Google Sheet. But we need to have that addressed to Zappier. Something I always do is remove the hyperlinks. It may not affect your sheet, but I like to keep them clean. And you'll use this over and over again. This link will not change. This is always where you'll be sending to the same location for that Zap to clean it up and put it in your sheet for you. So when you create a new record, you're just going to copy that and paste this down and make sure it's exactly the same. And then you'll hit send when you're ready to go, but we're not quite ready yet. So I'm going to name this. We've got our first step in the Zap. This will be our receive. Let's see here. Receive and parse our reference in the JSON there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this as is. I'm going to hit continue to make sure it saves that step. I'm not going to trigger it yet because I don't have the data, because we're now going to go back and set up our other Zap on how to put the data into the system. Again, we'll come back to this first one. We do need this set up first to get that URL, but we'll go ahead and create our input step first. Input Zap, as they like to call them. So for this one, I'll just put maybe post container ID to Vizion API. So again, we want to use Google Sheets to just interact with the API. So we're going to grab it from our trigger set here. This is where your Google account's going to come in handy. So we'll grab, we want this to be our trigger event. When we have a new or updated row, we'll say, hey, Zappier, you can come pick up the information and send it to Vizion. So again, we need to go find that sheet. So you have to authenticate your account into Zappier here. Nothing to worry about. Pretty straightforward. I'll let you do that. That's something we can't support or walk through, but there's plenty of help articles and FAQs here on Zappier if you need help with any of those steps. You will see I have the Zap app here. You will notice that the Excel sheet is not coming up. Again, that was why we put it into a Google Sheet, because only Google Sheets will show up here in the list. So if you do have an Excel sheet stored in your Google Drive, it's not going to show up here. So that's why I left it in the folder. It's a non-issue. You want to go ahead and grab that sheet for the input. And this is where that send column comes into play. If you're in the spreadsheet working and you drop in a container ID, Zappier is going to say, hey, that's an updated row. Let's grab it. We want to wait until you've had a chance to put all the details in, and then you can hit send, and we'll only trigger off that send rather than the other fields. So we're going to set that up, and actually, let's run the test. You can test all the ways through. You can see we got everything we wanted. You can see our column D was empty. We haven't hit send yet. Looks good. So we'll go ahead and set up our next action here. I put in a filter just because I feel like Zappier sometimes misfires with picking up the updated just send value. So I am just going to reinforce that, say the send division must exist. And I'll test that. It should say, nope, can't go through. Great, that worked. Now we could do something like go back and test this. We'll go ahead. And we have to pull this new data in with the trigger test here. So again, we're still seeing that empty. Let's load some more. Let's see what that new input looks like. We've got the send. So now when we go down to test our filter, it should let us through. Great. So now we know we've got that catch in there. And lastly, we need to go ahead and use that premium webhook feature again. This is the other side of it where we're going to actually, instead of receive anything, we are going to post. So we're going to send your container ID and your carrier code and your callback URL to the Vizion API. So here you'll want to point to a sandbox environment. Here you want to make sure the payload type is set to JSON. Now data is where we get very specific. This is the actual data that's going to the Vizion API, so it needs to be very specific in terms of what you name it here. So please make sure you type it exactly as I have it there. You'll put that in and we'll have to go say, okay, what is the container ID value? It is your container ID from your spreadsheet. And we'll need 2 more items here. Again, make sure these values on the left are exactly as I have them. Carrier underscore code. You will then again grab the value associated to that, and then as well the callback URL. I'm going to grab that as well. So again, these are the parameters saying, hey, Vizion API, here's the data that we want. Here are the values. To put these in, so make sure those match up exactly. You won't need to change the unflattened. We want that unflattened. It won't be basic auth. We'll be using headers. So again, this is very specific to what you're typing on this left side. You want to make sure that's XAPI hyphen, and this is going to be the URL key that you obtained from Vizion. So we'll go ahead and put that in. I've got a test key here that I'm working with. And then we'll also try content type. This is just going to be application/JSON. It's going to just make sure that's all spelled correctly. I can miss sometimes, but it looks good. And again, that will be your full setup for this step, the post step. Again, put your URL in there, JSON type, these 3 fields that are going in, and your headers for your authentication. So we're going to hit continue, and we will see if we get a success. So this is actually going to kind of do what we wanted it to do. It's going to test sending it into the Vizion API. So let's see if we get a success, and luckily we did. If you don't get a success here, again, like I mentioned before, Zappier has some pretty good help tools for this, so you can kind of go through their supporting, do some quick Googling. Vizion is not able to really support anything through Zappier or Google Sheets. Again, not our product, but something you can use to connect with our product. So if you have questions about our data or going in and out, you can hit support at vizionapi.com for that. But you will just have to work through. If you get a failure, kind of test it out a little bit and see what you can get to come in. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. That's it for the input. So again, so far no code, as I had promised. We'll go ahead and turn that Zap on because we'll need it on to test our next one. So we're looking good there. So let's go back to that other Zap that we initially started. So now your input step, it's on, it's working. If you were to come in here and put in a new container, Zappier's going to find that you had updated the row. It's going to pick it up and put it into the API. Now, we haven't built the other part, so you're not going to capture your updates yet. So let's get that turned on before we do anything, put any more containers into the system. So again, we've got our raw hook set up. It's going to catch what we need. So usually, it takes a minute or 2, maybe up to 5, working through Zappier, getting it to the Vizion API, and then coming back to you. If you were a developer, it would take a matter of seconds. You make the call, you get the information right back. Because we're going through Zappier and Google Sheets, it could take a minute longer or so. So I believe that the input we had just created will actually create an update, and we'll go ahead and see what that looks like here. And it looks like we've got it. So found our first update that came back. So you can see here status data received. And this is where, if you're not technical or developer, this is going to be a little messy for you. But I've got a step that will clean this right up. Again, this just looks like gobbledygook to you. No worry about it. You can see some events in here like rail departed, planned false, which means it's an actual, it's already happened. But let's go clean this up so you can more so understand what's going on in there. So how we're going to clean that up So we're going to go ahead and continue. So all of our tests have worked really well the whole way through. This is where we're going to bring out the C word into code by Zappier. So I promised no code, but we do have an action step here for coding. In the description, you saw that we had just 2 lines of code you can copy out. So this is more of a copy and paste exercise, less of a coding exercise. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose to run some JavaScript. That'll make this a run JavaScript event here for action. And our input data is just going to be called data. And then it's going to be the raw body. So just all of that block of code that you had seen above that wasn't real reader friendly. And we're going to replace the code they have here with this. So again, our input is called data. So we want to make sure data, if you want to change this something else to vision data, you could then go ahead and change this to vision data as well. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is for now. And we're going to go ahead and continue. So that's all this is doing right here is just running one step. So look, nothing really to see here. It's going to run that. We'll test and continue. And now you can see it's kind of broken out that payload into a more readable format. So you're getting started here. So we see, we've got event 1 was gate out empty. Now we go to 2. We see we've got gate in full. And so we're starting to see a little bit of what we expected. So we're actually going to go down and add one more step. It's stopping us prematurely there. We're going to do, go back to our Google Sheets. And now we're going to put this output cleanly into that kind of that last sheet I showed you within Google Sheets where we're going to store the updates coming out. So we're going to create we actually have to search. We need to create a spreadsheet row, or rows actually. You want to make sure you have the plurality on there. That's going to be the one we need here. And then I'm not going to go through the entirety of how we set this up here because there's going to be some things you need to type out, but we'll make it very, very explicit of what you need to put in here. But essentially, we're going to be coming through. Again, we want to select where we want to put this into. So kind of doing that same thing, that same setup we did initially on the input. We're going to say, interesting. Why is that? So here you want to go to the payloads sheet, and that's going to be our target area. So now this is where you'll do a lot of mapping essentially. So you can see it's already laid out all the each data field for you that I have typed into the Google Sheet, or we have in the template for you. So you don't have to type any of those in, but you are going to have to map each one. So this is where we'll share a visual of how to map to this. Which is essentially what we're going to go to is our catch or our run JavaScript step. And through here, we're going to look. Let me close this back up. Let's see, actually, if we do ID, I think this is okay. So this is what we'll do. So if you're looking for like destination information, you'll start to take destination. So here you see like you'll get your destination, inland destination, destination port facility. These are all the data points that were brought back by the Vizion API for you. So for this one was called ID. I know this is our ID here, so you can see I'm going to map our reference ID to ID. Update ID, or actually, I'm again not going to map these here for you. We'll give you the whole mapping document that you can use, but you can come through and search each of these. Bill of lading, if we have a bill of lading value in there, we'll go ahead and map that to that. So essentially, you're just going to come through and again, just kind of search and map all the different values that we pulled out for you as we have in the document. So again, I won't go through all of these on video, but we will have those for you. This is the only real tedious step to getting this set up. But let's say we leave these values in here for now, and we'll test this and see, again, let's throw in something else just to make it more clear as to what you're going to receive, and then I'll show you an example as well. So we have vehicle MMSI number or vessel. We'll see if they gave us any of those, and we'll go ahead and continue. So this is kind of your last test. You really want this one to exceed or succeed. We do see that it's, what data are we pulling in? So we did some quick mappings there. You can see where it's going. We're pulling in an ID. We're pulling in that bill of lading that I set, the numbers. So it's kind of giving us a preview of what are you going to put into Google. Again, I didn't map everything, so not everything's going to go, but let's see what happens. And luckily, we got all green checks across everything we set up here. That's what I'm hoping that you see as well. Again, a quick update of what did you put in there. Now let's go and see. All right, so it did send us data in. Again, we would have a bunch of different events here and different things, but I just kind of coded in just a few values to give you an understanding. It shouldn't pull down all that color for you. I'm not sure why it did that, but you can modify as needed. But this is what you should expect. You would see a reference that you submitted, and then it's update ID. So you can quickly see, okay, I saw empty pickup by merchant, receive, loaded on FCL. You'll see all the different events here, their timestamps, and all the information you would hope to see about all your shipments will be present here. So you could then just filter down to maybe just one single ID if you would like. Let's copy this one out, and you can see if you have multiple updates for that. Well, it doesn't like what I did, so I did not select that. So now you can see we have a single reference here, but we have a few reference updates. So you can see when was that update created. We've got 5/30/6/3, another one on 6/3, so good updates coming there. And again, Vizion will only send you an update when we see an update, so you shouldn't expect an update on certain intervals. It will come as we get new information about your shipment. So that's everything, setting up from start to finish to get you a no-code solution into connecting with the Vizion API. Again, you can always reach out for questions about your account and different questions about your input parameters and things with the Vizion API. We won't be able to support anything with Zappier or Google Sheets itself, but I think everything is fully contained in this video. And any feedback that we get, we'll address and make sure that we get a follow-up to get you better information for this. So again, feel free to contact us and get book a demo with our sales team. We'd love to get you this no-code solution in your hand to help you get started, and we're here to help you with your ocean visibility needs. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching.